Good morning. So how people are feeling now? How is the situation in your place? Here Delhi is very bad. Almost we are confined to the home. And in the HOD office, one of the attendant, Mr. Rajkumar's wife passed away due to COVID. So this is the last chapter. I must not be keeping well. So I'll try to take class today and possibly by Friday. And I have uploaded the material in the Moodle. And Friday during the lecture hour, we have the quiz. We start around I think 12:40. Quiz number 6 is on the fancy yarns. All the materials are already given to you. So composite is basically there is we consciously combining two materials. They are very distinct, and to combine into one engineering material, where the basis of these two materials are discerning. For all the load-bearing applications or structural applications, we use the composites. The composite has two parts. One is the matrix, which is the continuous phase, or you can say bulk phase. And then there is a discontinuous phase, which is called reinforcing material. In textile composite, the reinforcing material is basically the high tenacity, high performance fibers, and the matrix is to be thermoplastic resin. So in the composite, both the continuous and the discontinuous phase, they retain their identity. They don't dissolve or merge into each other, but they act independently. So you can see a section of the composites, dispersed phase. You see the cylinders, fibers, and it is surrounded by the matrix. And the purpose of matrix is many things. One is keeping the fiber in place in particular orientation. What we decided, it may be orientation due to the woven structure, or woven maybe 3D woven. So in all these cases, we try to have a particular orientation of fibers, and we want to keep it in a particular. We want to keep the orientation in place. So the matrix will help in keeping the fiber in its place. And also when load is applied, it helps in transmitting load from one fiber to another fiber, so that the stress concentration is distributed. Overall, the load bearing capacity of the composite improves phenomenally. Apart from that, the matrix also helps gives protection to the fiber from abrasion, moisture penetration, and also UV rays if you add some UV stabilizers. And also it gives a shape and appearance. It depends on what is the shape you are creating. It may be plate form, or it may be whatever the form you create. Okay, so it is going to keep the composite in the required shape, and depends on the resin we use. It's going to decide the service temperature and durability of the composite. So the dispersed phase or discontinuous phase or second phase or reinforcing phase, they are usually stronger than the matrix. So that's why we're calling it as the reinforcing phase. And that is the one which gives the high strength and modulus, and also resistant to bending and tensile and other type of loads. Apart from these two phases, there is a interface between the matrix and the reinforcing material. The interaction may be physical or chemical or mechanical. And when the load is applied, what happens? There is a lot of localized stress will accumulate at the interface or near the interface. And the role of interface is basically to transfer the load from one phase to another phase, so that overall the load bearing capacity of the composite improves. And you see the recommended composite, the modulus of the reinforcing material should be at least 10 times higher than the matrix. So in that sense, we take nylon polyethylene, which is not a composite, because the modulus difference is not that much. Composite can be classified into broadly 3 categories: particle based, fiber based, and structural based. Particle, large particle or very small particle, sometimes we use nanoparticles. The problem with nanoparticle is, you have to disperse. That is one of the main issue. And coming to fiber reinforce, it may be take a continuous filament yarn, or you can take woven fabric, which is continuous, or simply fiber randomly distributed, which may be aligned or maybe randomly distributed. So continuous is basically you take in a yarn form or you take in a fabric form. Coming to structural one, you go for laminates or sandwich panels, like bulletproof fabrics. They make 5, 6, 7, 8 panels, and they sandwich. In each panel, the direction of orientation of the reinforcing material will be different, so that the load will be distributed in all possible directions. So the sandwich panel, generally have less rigidity than a single panel of large size, which gives more flexibility. So composite classification based on the matrix, you have the metal composites and polymer matrix composite and ceramic matrix composites. So in textile, we are interested in the middle one, the polymer matrix composites. So there you have the two categories: thermoset matrix, the thermoplastic matrix. Thermoset resins, earlier people are using it to make the thermoset composites, but it has a lot of problems. Now people are switching over to thermoplastic composites. The main problem with the thermoset composite, thermoset resins, basically, when you apply the resin and then you give the, put some initiator, and which initiate the chemical reactions. So the chemical reaction may be done in room temperature or may be done in elevated temperature. That depends on the type of resin you are using it. So the purpose of this curing is the chemical reaction is you are trying to cure the resin. In the process, they form many cross links, and that makes the thermoset more brittle. That is low strain to failure. That means the breaking extension will be very low. So the breaking extension may be going down to 5%. So if your breaking extent is very low, what happens? The toughness of the composite will be very poor. The ability to absorb the energy impact will be very poor. And also it became permanently hard and they cannot be melted and reshaped. And sometimes, depending on the resin, the curing cycle time may be long, 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. So which is not very cost effective. And over and above, what happened? The shelf life is not that good. So to overcome the thermoset deficiencies, we are substituting thermoplastic matrix, and here the interaction between the matrix and the reinforcing material, that is basically physical intermolecular forces, not the chemical reactions. And based on that, the material can be melted and reshaped because there is not cross-linked. There is no chemical reaction. And since it's not a cross-linked, you have very high strain to failure. So material is ductile and more than 5% breaking extension. And because it has more breaking extension, the energy to absorb the impact load and the energy to absorb the repeated load are better. So they have better fracture toughness and better fatigue endurance. And they have a very high shelf life compared to the thermoset matrix. And the processing cycle of composites also very simple and not much a lot of chemical reactions. But having said that, it has a lot of plus points compared to the thermoset matrix. Thermoplastic matrix also have their own limitations. So here the main limitation is the inadequate fiber to matrix adhesion. The adhesion is not mainly by chemical reactions. So that is one of the thing. Because of that, what happened? Sometimes there is a lead delamination. Fiber and the matrix will come out. And another main issue is the processing problem, that is due to the high melt viscosities. So when you have high melt viscosities, you have to apply a lot of pressure so that the resin can be injected and try to occupy all the voids between the fibers. So what happened when the reinforcing structure is tight, like tightly woven textile structures, where the porosity may be only 50%. So the pore size between the fibers will be very low. And in the small pores, injecting this high viscous resin will be difficult. And in the process, what happened? There are many places the pores are not filled with the resin. So it's going to create a lot of voids in the final composites. This is one of the pressure. So this is one of the limitations. So this increases the void content in the final composite, and for that we have to go for high level of injection pressure and heavier load. So that means it's making more complicated. The mold has to be heavier so that we apply a lot of pressure. And to overcome this one, what we do is we try to give more temperature. We apply more heat energy so that the temperature may be increasing. When the temperature increases, the viscosity of the resin will be less. So heating the resin to a high temperature just to reduce the viscosity. There are some resins which has limitations, and when the temperature goes very near to the polymer degradation temperature, then the resin may degrade. So that is one of the limitations. People use solvents also for thermoplastic, but as on today, the solvents are costly and they are not environment friendly. To solve these things, people have devised a technique called the tau preg. So here what happened, the thermoplastic material, which is the matrix, which is in polymer, and the reinforcing material, fiber or filament or filament yarn, they are mixed, and then you make the yarn or which has both the components, reinforcing component and the matrix component. Then you apply hot melt, or some case what happen, you have the reinforcing material will take, and you take the film of thermoplastic and apply heat. Thermoplastic solution is inverted through the yarn, then apply heat, and then you can cool it. And there are other important methods which are very prominent nowadays, that is the co-mingling and the dry powder coating. So co-mingling is basically you take the filament yarn, two filament yarns. One filament is the reinforcing material, like let us say high performance material. Another is the low melting polymer. And both the filaments you pass through the nozzle and apply the some air pressure. In the process, what happened? The reinforcing filament and the matrix filament, they get entangled here and there. And now this is all pre-preg. Then this pre-preg is very flexible, and you take it and try to form different shape and apply heat, and the thermoplastic matrix will melt and it invert all the areas of the composites. Another thing is dry powder coating. You take the filament yarn, high performance filament yarn, and then on that you apply the polymer, which is a matrix, which is in a dry powder form. Just a minute. Hello. You call me after half an hour. I will please my class. All right. So among all these techniques, the co-mingling and the powder coating is the more highest potential to produce a pre-preg. And after making pre-preg, they are very highly flexible, because still the thermoplastic is not melted, and you can form into different shape as per the shape of the composites. So all these hybrid yarns, the main underlying principle is you make the hybrid yarn, which has both the component, the high performance filament, as well as the low melting, the matrix filament. Then you take it, make it in a different shape, then apply heat. When apply heat, what happens? The matrix melts, okay, and they impregnate the reinforcing components. And then you do the cooling, and then you get the composites. So the main problem here is, again, we need to have a homogeneous distribution of the matrix as well as the reinforcing materials. If there is not a homogeneous mixing, then what happens? The distance between the matrix and the reinforcing material will be very large. So when I apply load, what happens? The transfer distance between one component and another component will be very large. Due to that, what happened? The load bearing capacity will be poor. So you need to have very homogeneous mixing of both the components, so that the distance between the two components at everywhere will be less, so that when the load is applied, quickly the load is transmitted from one matrix to one high performance fiber to another high performance fiber through the matrix, where the distance of the matrix is very small. So that helps in improving the strength of the composites. So coming to the hybrid yarn is nowadays is a well-established one to make the pre-preg, flexible pre-preg, and which has both the components. So the established techniques are co-wrapping, and core spinning and co-mingling. These are three methods through which we can form the hybrid yarns, which has both the reinforcing filament as well as the matrix filament. So you can see the commingled yarn. You see the black one and a white one. Okay, you can imagine one is the reinforcing filament, another is the matrix filament. So you are passing through a jet, and you apply some air pressure, and what happens is will crisscross each other, and finally they are bound. Then you take this yarn and try to make a particular shape of the composites. Then apply heat on a mold. Then you'll be able to get a particular composite of particular shape and form. In the case of coarse spun yarn, you can use the staple fibers in the core, and the filament may be covered on the surface, or filament may be kept at the center and the fiber will be kept on the surface. Okay, one component is in the core and another component is on the surface. Co-wrapped yarn is basically the reinforcing material is there in the center, and you apply wrap the matrix filament on the surface. And stretch broken yarn, you combine both the components, the high performance fiber as well as the matrix filament, and apply a controlled amount of stretch. For example, like brittle high performance fibers, like basalt fibers, glass fibers, like that. So they have low breaking extension. So once you make the yarn, then yarn or just combine this thing, then apply some amount of stretch. The stretch will be slightly almost equal to the breaking elongation of the one component which breaks. Usually is the reinforcing material, which may be brittle. Now what happened, initially all are straight, okay, all are continuous. Now the moment you apply, let us say one component breaking extension is 4%, then you stretch the whole hybrid material to 4% extension. All those components which has the breaking extension of 4% will break, but they can't move around. They're already held by the other neighboring filaments, so they are held in place. So then finally, when you give heat energy to this one, and the matrix, the reinforcing material, which are in staple fiber form, they are held by the melting matrix components. So one is the hybrid yarn. You can make the ring spinning. You can make the core spun yarn. The filament yarn usually high performance filament yarn, or maybe the reinforcing material, which is directly fed to the front roller, and the matrix component, which is in a staple fiber form. They are made into rovings, and roving is passed through the back roller, drafted by the middle roller and the front roller, and finally what happened, the filament yarn and the staple fibers, they are coming together. So here they make some separate arrangement, so that when the twist is given by the ring and traveler, the twist will not flow to the front roller nib. The twist will flow only to the twist controller device. So by the time what happened, the enough time is given for the filament and roving, and the filament will take up the center position and the roving will be on the surface. Then only the twist is given. So here the filament yarn has to be kept under particular tension, otherwise the filament yarn will not be occupying the core. Filament yarn, suppose it is low tension, filament instead of going to the center will occupy the surface, which is not good. So the main problem with this hybrid yarn through ring spinning is what happened. There are many places the filament yarn is not covered fully by the staple fibers. So at some places it is covered, at some places it is not covered, and again it is covered. So it gives like a bunch of fibers covering the filament yarn. Then some portion of the filament is exposed, zebra filament. So which gives a effect known as strip back or barber pole. Barber pole is found on the right side. When you go to the many developed countries, we want to go to the barber shop. On the pole, you will have this light. This is a transparent material which has this color, and this will be rotating. So this is indication that there is a barber shop near. So you see, white one, and there is strip of blue and red. So this blue and red basically the surface fibers. So what happened? The white one is shown. That means the core is not fully covered by the surface fiber. It is covered in like a strip. It's fully covered. So this is one of the main problem with the ring spinning, and it's called the this means there is incomplete core coverage. So obviously to reduce this effect, we try to go for higher twist. When you go for higher twist, we expect there is a better binding between the filament yarn in the core and the surface fiber. But higher twist means you have to operate the front roller at lower speeds. That means you have less protection speed. You are compromising the protection. Higher twist means what? Spindle speed divided by front roller speed. Front roller speed is in meters per minute. To get higher twist, you are setting the protection rate at lower. Instead of say 25 meters per minute, you are operating at 20 meters per minute. So there is a loss of 20% protection. So which is not good economically, which is not good. Another thing is when you try to give more twist, especially the high performance fibers are brittle, like glass fiber, carbon fibers, they will break at high twist because they will not be able to take up the more torque, because by nature they are highly brittle. That is another problem. So to alleviate this problem, there are some people who have come out with the technology, patented technology. So what they do is they apply, they have two electrodes just after the front roller, and when the filament yarn comes, the multi-filament yarn comes from the front roller, it is charged by the first top electrode. So when you give charge to the filament, all the filaments will have the same charges, and what happens? They repel each other. So that means they create more gap among themselves. Then when you go to the lower electrodes, again it repels the continuous filament outward. And finally, what happened? All in the core filaments, they try to form a balloon. In that case, what happened? It will be easier for the staple fibers to occupy between the space of the filaments as well as on the surface. So this means it is going to have very homogeneous mixing. Rather than mixing the fibers only on the surface, it's not actually mixing. Okay, it is fiber is on the surface and filament is on the core, which is really not a good material. So here, because of the charging principle, filament is repelled all the filaments, and they create gap, and inside the gap the staple fibers will go. So everywhere there is a mix of filament as well as the staple fibers. So that means the transfer distance between the filament to filament through the matrix is less and less. So another thing is through rotor spinning, which is not very established. It's all still in research stage, not very successful. In the rotor spinning, you have the rotor, and the slaver is fed to the roller, opening roller, and drafted, and it falls here as the rotor rotates, and then you feed a yarn through the navel tube, and the yarn will occupy the groove due to centrifugal force. It's like a winch. As it rotates, what happens? The supplied fibers will attach to the yarn and it twisted, and the yarn is taken to the take-up roller. So in this, what happened? The slight modification of the rotor. The rotor shaft is made a little bigger, and instead of solid, it is made hollow. On the right side, you can see the rotor shaft is hollow with the specialized arrangement, and through the this one tube, you feed the filament yarn. See, the filament yarn is fed from the bobbin, and it is a feed roller which is going to feed at a particular rate, and then it is applied a particular amount of tension. Then it is fed into the rotor at the axis, whereas stable fibers are fed to the groove of the rotor. Now what happened? The filament yarn is coming, and the stable fiber will be surrounding the filament yarn. Then yarn is taken out. So this, by doing a modification of the rotor, you can make the hybrid yarn from rotor spinning. Again, this technique is not that good as on today, because the technology has the tendency to introduce filament misalignment. It is not that everywhere along the yarn the filament is on the core, so it may be migrating from core to surface, and exactly we are not able to keep. Next category is the drum spinning. Drum spinning, simply you feed the stable fiber to the drum, then the opening roller, then you have the perforated drum, and stable fibers falls here. Due to rotation of the drum, the fibers are rolled and twisted, and the yarn is taken out. So this is a simple drum spinning called the open-end spinning system. The same drum spinning, there is another thing where you can feed the filament yarn directly to the nip of the perforated drum. So you feed. I am putting the cursor, and here you are feeding the filament yarn under controlled tension. So this filament yarn may be glass filament yarn or any high performance filament yarn. So feed directly on along the nip of the perforated drum. So now what happened? As the drum is rotating, the filament yarn is rotated. Incoming fibers are falling onto the filament yarn. Then it is wrapped. So the structure is like that. On the center or in the core, you have the high performance filaments. That is the load bearing filaments, surrounded by the low melt fibers, that is thermoplastic fibers on the surface. So now the yarn is hybrid yarn. Then it can go for the next operation, molding, heating. So it is like this. You see the matrix, the reinforcing filament which has come parallel to the perforated drum, and from the top the fibers have come, and the fibers are wrapped or twisted over the reinforcing filament. So all the filament which are feeding to the parallel to the drum, exactly on the drum nip, they're all glass, carbon, Kevlar, and other Dyneema. This high density polyethylene, ultra high density polyethylene. So they are all high performance material. Now they are in the filament form. It goes to the core, and on the surface you use the other type of material, you can change the core cover ratio. You can have a different percentage of core sheet ratio by manipulating the process parameters, by feeding rate of the filament yarn, by feeding rate of the surface materials and the tack-up speed. By varying all these things, you will be able to vary the core sheath ratio. And one of the most plus point of this system is the filament yarn is not twisted, because when you rotate the drum, the filament yarn is rotated but will not be twisted, because on the filament fibers are falling and fibers will be rolled over the filament yarns. So whatever the torque we are giving, it is used to the fibers, and fibers will occupy the helical configuration on the filament yarn, but the filament yarn will not have any twist. All the twist goes to the surface fibers. So that means the load bearing capacity of the composite will be very high. If the filament is twisted, then the load bearing capacity will be less. Another thing is the wrap spinning. You have the reinforcing material and then the matrix filaments, they are combined, and in the next operation you put a binding filament. You put a binding filament which is in a helical form. Then the structure is ready for the next operation. So this is the wrap spinning. You can have the stable fibers as well as filament, the matrix as well as the reinforcing material. Then you can have a binding filament, or you can directly take the reinforcing filament, feed it to the front roller as it comes, then apply the the matrix filament, which will be wrapped over the filament. It's a multiple combination you can use. You use the both reinforcing filament on the nip and feeding the matrix filament fibers on the surface, combine, then apply a binding filament. That is one route. Another route is basically feed the reinforcing filament to the front roller. Then the matrix filament is coming through this spool, and this spool is rotated, and that is twisted over the reinforcing materials. So multiple combinations are there. But one of the main thing is the matrix filament has to be very fine. That is so that it will be able to cover the reinforcing material. If the matrix material is very coarse, then you're not able to have good mixing. So whenever you go for very fine filament, then cost will go exponentially. The finer the filaments you try to make, the cost of the finer filament will be much higher. That's one of the limitations. Another is hybrid yarn from air jet texturing. We don't recommend this for academic interest. We are writing. We already studied the air jet textured sewing threads. So here the matrix filament as well as the reinforcing filament both are fed. Reinforcing material fed at a lower rate, whereas the matrix filaments are fed at a higher rate. Then by supersonic air jet. So the Mach number is more than 1 and they get entangled. You will see how the structure is entangled. Reinforcing material is fed almost straight with less overfeed percentage, whereas matrix filaments are fed at 20%, 25% overfeed, and they try to form, entangle the reinforcing filaments. You see the fine one, all zigzag haphazard configurations. Now when you apply heat, the matrix is going to melt and try to cover the reinforcing materials. So this is the most well established process, whereas in the case of air jet texturing, what happened, the strength drop is nearly 60%, 40 to 60%. So which is not good even for sewing threads. It is good for making embroidery yarn, where you don't need much strength. Whereas in the case of commingling, here also we use the jet, but the jet design is different. Okay, the air jet comes almost perpendicular. The pressure we use is much lower. So when both the filaments are coming here, what happened? It tried to entangle at different places randomly. It's not totally, forming loops. So some distance, it is mingled, and some distance, there is no mingling. Ultimately, there is some structural coherence is given by the air jet, where the matrix filament and reinforcing filament are somewhat mixed. You see the matrix filament is almost straight, and the matrix filament will go a little cross, then entangle, then it comes out like that. So it forms a number of nips. So the nips per meter can be controlled by changing the production speed, and by changing the angle of the air jet, and by changing the air pressure. One can change the number of nips. Nips means number of places it get entangled. So this is the hybrid-ion in the commingling process. You have the reinforcing filaments, matrix forming filaments, and they're passing through the nozzle, then it's taken out. You can have separate roller also. Reinforcing filaments are fed by separate rollers. Matrix filaments also fed by separate rollers, so that they are fed at different rates. Usually reinforcing filaments are fed at a lower production rate, whereas the matrix filaments are fed at a little higher production rate. Suppose the production rate is 100 meters per minute, the reinforcing filaments are fed maybe 105 meters per minute. The matrix filaments are fed at 105 meters per minute. So that the free length of the matrix filament will crisscross the reinforcing filaments. In the next operation, when you make the mold, you are applying a heat, and the matrix filament will melt. Another thing is parallel winding. Okay, you wind both the materials parallelly, matrix filament and this one. Any particular, it depends on the machine design you have. You wind it, then it's like, you can wind it in a sheet form, and you can mold it. This is stretch breaking process already I told. Okay, already you combine, then combined yarn, hybrid yarn, you applied a little extension, so that one component is broken. Usually the reinforcing component. And usually they are straight, but now because of the breaking force, slightly some recoiling will take place. Slightly they become misaligned, but overall they are more aligned towards the yarn axis. So there are many other methods are there. It's all patented. Okay, this one is the matrix filament and the reinforcing filament. They have developed a separate knitted structures. They knit it, and that is the preform. There is another technology, shape technology, and there also they feed both filaments in a particular configuration, and they put another filament yarn, which is also a low melt, so that they bind the structure, and the structure is stable, flexible for the next operation where you make the composites. Of course, another thing is the braiding operation. You have the take the two components, and there are different technologies available in braiding, and you can combine a number of. You can have a permutation of combinations. So when once it's braided, then that is a preform for the next stage of making composites. So this one, I think we'll see maybe in the next class, or if I have time, we can take the next class. Otherwise, it's not very much. You can read yourself about this. How do you characterize the So I think this is your last class. You can go through this remaining slide, which is slide number 43 to 57. Okay, this is all self-explanatory. Anything else? So stay safe. I think you're all safe in your home. I think you are much safer than us in Delhi. In every building, no, in every floor, every alternate floor, someone or one or two members, family members have COVID. My son also in isolation. So Friday, you'll have the quiz on the Moodle. Whether I am taking class or not, you come directly to try to attend the Moodle, quiz, quiz number 6 on fancy yarns. Right? I already informed. I think you got the email now. So there's only 10 slides are there. You can study by yourself. I don't want to take because postponing the semester is not going to do anything. We try to finish the semester. Look for the next semester. Hopefully better. Okay, wish you all the best.